His Maoism is perverse because he was living a happy life as the son of the person who was in effect the publisher of the party. He was nominally Zhou Enlai's deputy, but he was in charge of books and publications. He lived in a beautiful house in the Jungdanghai, in the heart of Beijing, with water, little pools of water and gardens, in a kind of mansion where he grew up. So at the age of 13, he gets tossed out, kicked out, and sent to a miserable village in one of the ugliest places I've ever seen in China, kind of barren, remote, poor village. He gets thrown out. His father is sent to prison, in and out of prison, detention, remote factory work for 18 years. Abruptly, his mother is publicly humiliated by having to walk alongside the husband and saying, capitalist roader, pig, and then his father was exposed, Hu Jintao, with a placard saying that he was a traitor and so on. And his half sister, Mao, sent his half sister to die of hunger. And the other half sister, the one who's now a billionaire, the billionaire half sister of Xi Jinping, she survived only because she ended up in Inner Mongolia. And in Inner Mongolia, there was a party leader known as the King of Mongolia who resisted the Red Guards. She was still having to make bricks with the bare hands for several years. But because of that party leader, she got some extra food. So she didn't die of hunger. So the person who sent his father to prison, humiliated his mother savagely, I would say, savagely, killed his half-sister, almost tried to kill his sister. This person is the person he worships. It's Faust. This is pure Faust. It's Faust, the man who makes the pact with the devil. Dr. Faust, who knows the devil is the devil, makes the pact. And it's symptomatic because Faust is a book that Xi Jinping is totally obsessed with. When he met Merkel, he claimed, and he wasn't lying, that he knows it by heart. Because when he was exiled to that horrible place, horrible, miserable, poor and cold, but also horrible, he had one book with him, which was Goethe's book, The Sorrows of Young Werther. He then switched it with another exile who had the Faust, translated by a notorious character whom I actually met, called Guo Muro, who was himself Faustian, because he is the one who was restored to high position after denouncing his own two sons who were duly murdered by the Red Guards. He denounced his two sons. So he's a Faustian character, very perverse, very perverse.
Yes. How do you account for that? I mean, is it psychological? I guess you can't read someone's mind or psyche, but to reenact in some ways the things that were brutally done to your own family.
Okay. Right. All I can tell you is, first of all, I will not try to do that. I have no use for psychoanalysis in politics, and it may all be irrelevant because the fundamental strategic errors that Xi Jinping does don't derive from any of this. This is very traditional Chinese, not to be autistic about the outside world. Mm-hmm. Autistic, okay? Not knowing. When the British showed up in Canton, the British been around in a region for 100 years, but the Chinese were autistic and said they were completely unprepared for what happened in a bombardment and so on. So all I can tell you is that Xi Jinping's obsessions go very deep. For example, Goethe. Goethe, as you know, wrote 10 times more than Shakespeare because he wrote memoranda in addition to poems, books, and so on. He was a government official, wrote a lot of essays on a lot of things. There's no complete Goethe in English. There's no complete Goethe in French. There is in Chinese because his obsession with Faust is such that Xi Jinping ordered the Shanghai University of Foreign Languages to mobilize all 83 known Chinese Germanists to translate all of Goethe into Chinese in 81 giant volumes.
Have you written a one essay about Faust and Xi Jinping? Because
I did. Okay. In London Review of Books. It's called Goethe in China.